Wrestlebuddy Podcast. All about wrestling. Subscribe and follow for more content.
Hey Wrestlebuddies, welcome to another exclusive interview, and I've got an absolute legend with me today, Carlos Colon Jr., mostly known as Carlito in the WWE. How are we doing today, Carlito?
Good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Thanks so much for joining us. Really big fan myself personally as well, so it's really honoured to interview you today. So one of the things I always start an interview with, and it's a bit different for yourself because normally I say, how did somebody get into wrestling? But obviously you come from the legendary Colon family, so it's looks like you were destined to be this from birth. So did you ever have a time when you thought you would not go into the wrestling business, or was it just from an early age you knew that what you wanted to do?
I don't know. Yeah, it was just such a long time ago, such a young age too. Like I said, before, all my jobs were wrestling related. I started in the canteen selling food when I was a beer hawker, cameraman. I used to put up the ring. So yeah, I think becoming a wrestler was just a gradual step in the process.
Brilliant. And you late in your trade in your father's promotion, didn't you? And then you moved on to WWE after that, and you went through the Ohio Valley. What do you think the differences are from back then in terms of your developmental in the territory that you were in then to what NXT is like now? Do you think like that was the card they were already setting the store for it back then?
Yeah, just wow, NXT is just so much more advanced. All the equipment they have. I think I don't know how many rings they have. They have like all kinds of doctors now. We didn't have any of that stuff. So it's in other ways, it's different. A lot more professional than what it was before.
Yeah. And so you progressed through the Ohio Valley, and then you went to the main roster. And what was your feeling when you got to the main roster? Did you feel like it was coming at that point, or was it a surprise when you got the call up?
Yeah, it's always a surprise when they call you up. But like I said, I was ready. That was my goal. My goal, being OVW was great. I learned a lot, but my goal was always to get to the main stage. So yeah, I couldn't wait to start.
And to be fair, you looked ready as soon as you come in. It was kind of, you just slotted straight in there, and it looked like you'd been there for years. Did you feel kind of calm and at home when you first got there?
Yeah, because like I said, in Puerto Rico, I kind of went through all that. I'd already worked in front of the large audiences. I'd already, done high profile matches. So it was just, it was the same, just even a bigger stage than what it was in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, brilliant. And one thing I wanted to ask you, just a question that just popped into my head now, is your character was the cool and calm character. And, obviously talking to you now, you're just very, very cool and calm. You collected yourself. Do you feel like that's the kind of best characters that people should go for, is something that's like an extension of their own personality?
Definitely, yeah. It's like Vince says, just be yourself with the volume turned up. That usually turns out to be the best characters. So, that's true what he says.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. So just going to go to some questions that we got here. So one question I wanted to ask was, Dark Side of the Ring's not long come back on now. And obviously there was a bit of controversy with Ric Flair on this. Now, you worked with Rick, and did you ever see any wildness like this, or do you feel like they've been a bit unfair to him? Because I know some people have spoken out about how it's being cleverly edited and the story's not all there.
Yeah, I wasn't with the company during the plane ride of hell, but it was all kind of crazy stuff that went on in the wrestling business back then, it was a different time. It doesn't necessarily make it right, what I mean? But it was, it's just a different time. But there's not much I can say about it. There was a lot of shenanigans, a lot of things that in those times we thought of as jokes and stuff, and then you look back now, you're like, wow, what were we thinking? That was but that's comes with a lot of stuff. That just comes with time and and maturity.
Yeah. One thing that I was laughing about was I was watching back some old wrestling events over the summer, and I watched SummerSlam '91 with Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, versus Virgil as Butler, And I was thinking in modern days that just would not fly in nowadays. But back then, nobody blinked an eye at it or made any difference with it, you know?
It's, and it's like when the old timers tell us about, what they call ribs. Nowadays, you listen to me, man, those aren't ribs, those are felonies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what the hell are you guys thinking? But, back then they took it as jokes. So, I mean, like I said, it's with everything, it's a different time. Doesn't make it right necessarily, but that's, just perceived differently back then.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say was Tommy Dreamer. Obviously, he's had a lot of flack for this interview and for his interview on that show and kind of, what he said. And I've seen his apology since. And that, you worked with Tommy. What did you think of Tommy? Because he comes across such a genuine guy, and I feel like he's getting a lot of heat for not really anything. Yeah,
I mean, it's stuff kind of came off insensitive, but like. One guy that's that is is a good guy in the business, and the guy that's looked out for the girls has been Tommy. You know what I mean? I think I'm sure a lot of girls can attest to that. So he's getting a lot of heat for it, and hopefully it'll blow over because like I said, I don't know the whole situation. It came off a little insensitive, but I don't know Tommy to be that type of guy. You know what I mean? I've always thought of him as a good guy.
Yeah, his comments on there were something along the lines of, and don't quote me on this, but it was, people, it was, as you've just said, it's the lads being the lads back then, and it was kind of thing, but it's not sexual abuse or anything. And I think he's right on what he's saying, is the fact that it wasn't really like that. It's just, I think people just took it a little bit the wrong way of what he said, and I think he could have probably expressed himself a bit differently on it, and I just felt like it was really unfair.
Because, like Flair used to do that rope thing all the time. But it's always as a joke, and I'd never heard of stories of him forcing himself on people. But he used to, but also doing that, is like nowadays is, that's kind of a felony too, right? But we took it as a joke back then. But I could understand, one, it was back then, but also I could understand two is that somebody not being in the business might take it a whole different way, and we didn't take that into consideration sometimes, I think.
Yeah. See, I was the same. I'm ex-military, and obviously when I was in the army, and some of the stuff we used to get up to is unless you're actually part of that fraternity, you wouldn't understand it.
Sure, for you getting outside of that, I remember too. Like all the time, it was funny to me. We'd after shows and stuff, us wrestlers, we go and eat somewhere, and we're having a regular conversation in public, and I would look around, and people like eavesdropping on it. You see their faces like, what? To us, it's just a normal thing, but you forget that for other people, that's like, it's some wild stuff. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's it.
It's crazy.
So, you have a massive experience in your wrestling career, and in my eyes, it's a Hall of Fame career, worthy career. Are you looking to ever pass on all your experience to other wrestlers once you, maybe in a backstage role at WWE or AEW or one of the other companies to kind of help the next generation of talent along?
Yeah, like I said, I'm open to all kinds of ideas. Nobody calls me, but I'm open to all kinds of ideas. And like doing the indie scene and doing little shows and conventions, I try to help the guys out and pass on whatever knowledge I have, or just give them suggestions. Because I want to make the business better, and I want to help out the guys coming up.
Okay, and AEW at the moment are going through a massive talent acquisitions. They're bringing in a lot of talent. In my eyes, they're bringing in a lot of big level superstars in their eyes, and they're bringing in, and I can't understand why they haven't reached out to you if that's what you say. But also, do you see them as a credibility to WWE now, or do you feel like they've still got a long way to go?
Oh, definitely. No, I think I think they can still grow a lot more, but I think definitely WWE needs to keep their eye on them. And, I'm just happy that there's another place for the boys to go, number one, and there's other options. And two, competition makes for better product. You know what I mean? You could already see that, WWE is starting to step up their product, so I think, it's competition is always great. And I like to see the more companies, doing great, the better.
Yeah. And, Jim Ross made an interesting comment the other day about how the AEW sees them as more when the Attitude Era was going on, which looks like they're taking a totally different approach to WWE. Do you think like that's better as well because it's two different products rather than the same thing trying to collide with each other?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I think it's better. Yeah, you don't want to see the same formula on two different shows. Plus two, yeah, they got to remember like the attitude. You know, then people say like, "Oh, the business changed a lot too," but remember, society's changed. Like you can't do a lot of the stuff that you know is done. And even in my era, what is mine? What was the aggressive? What was mine called? The ruthless aggression era. Yeah, like you know, we can't do a lot of stuff. You know, looking back, I'll look at some my opinions and stuff, and I'm a little embarrassed. Like, oh my god, we used to do that back then. Like, so you know, it's tough too. You know, and you know, like you know, wrestling was very stereotypical back then. You can't really be you know, stereotypical these days, but you know, but so I don't know. Yeah, it's a way to it's just evolving and adjusting to new eras, I guess.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine spitting in someone's face during the pandemic. It goes down well.
Right, exactly. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, exactly.
Do you see yourself wrestling with AEW at all, or have you had any contact with them? Or
I've had no contact with them. I'd love to you know, sit down and talk to them if you know they're interested. I always thought, you know, like, hey, I'm Latino. A lot of, you know, or even WWE has a lot of these. I don't understand why they haven't called me because, you know, I speak Spanish, I speak English, and I could help out. You know, they always complain that these young guys don't get a voice. But I could help, you know, be the voice for these guys, or I could, you know, I could also do like a Spanish commentary. But like I said, you know, I don't know either, but I'm not stressing it either. You know, I'm still doing my thing, but you know, I'm if they call, it'd be great, but I'm not sitting by the phone either.
So, like with the AEW and WWE rosters at the moment, there's a lot of like good in-ring talent in both companies at the moment. Do you ever, you know, look at the products and think who would be the one that I'd love to have a match with, or you know, if you could tear the house down with?
Yeah, those days are over for me. I kind of like I always say, what you do? I kind of already had, I guess, all my dream because I worked pretty much everybody. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of great talent there. But I've always thought of myself someone you can put in the mix and work with anybody, and you know, get decent work out of or put it on a decent product, you know, with anybody there is.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is, I mean, just when you're going back to saying about obviously you're speaking Spanish and AEW, probably it'd be a good thing for if you're looking at like Penta or Andrade. It'd be a good place to pop you with them and give the experience because they are, you know, the good talent, aren't they? But the, you know,
they're great. Yeah,
they're on the way up.
Those guys are great talent. Yeah.
Well, I always say with AEW is like, you know, maybe not as much Andrade because he's been in WWE, but like Penta and stuff it's different coming from indies to television because you've got to wear camera angles and spots. Do you think that's true in that sense?
Yeah, it's a lot of times you can see that the guys, you know, they're off on where to look or how to work there's different size crowds to work. There's a lot of intricacies, that's different from doing the indies and also TV. Also, the indies too, remember your voice carries a lot because shows are small and stuff. So you got to find when it's these big TV shows, you know, you got 20, 30,000 people, you can't project. So you got to find other ways to get your character across.
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, and obviously, you know, just mentioning Andrade, and on the flip side, in WWE, I feel like Humberto Carrillo is probably one that's, you know, just floating about in the main card now at the moment, but he's not really getting anywhere. Where
Garza's another one that has another great talent. I think that just.
So you look at them too, and you think to yourself, putting them with somebody like yourself with the star power you have, and it could, you know, bring them guys up, couldn't it? It could.
Right, or just, you know, just be their voice. You know what I mean? Like, you know, let them do their, you know, because they're great in the ring. So let them do the work in the ring. I could be the voice.
Well, that's it, because you know they are good in the ring, and it's like, you know, say me personally, obviously I still follow the product to this day, but my brother, for instance, he watches WWE kind of sporadically. He doesn't watch it all the time. No, and if he turns over and seeing Humberto or Angel with yourself, he'd turn around and go, "What's Carlito doing with these guys?" Because he'd recognise yourself, and then he'd get to see them working in ring, and kind of it's like a pull-in, it's a hook, isn't it? It's a hook for somebody who's watched wrestling to bring them back and kind of help them, you know, identify them to the new product.
And that's the problem with a lot of guys too. You need to talk or have a voice to really, you know, get to the greater audience.
And in 2021, you came back to WWE, you know, for the Royal Rumble. You were a surprise entrance in the Royal Rumble. I know I was 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 a.m. in the UK when we watched these pay-per-views, and I was jumping off the seat when you come out, and obviously you were on Raw the next night. Remember my missus coming into my room telling me to shut up because the kids were in bed. And, but you know, why didn't you stay longer?
I don't know. That's all. we agreed on was go to Rumble and to do Raw that after. And after that, I haven't received any calls. Like I said, nobody calls me, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Do you think that's got a lot to do with the pandemic more than anything else? Because they're just bringing people in sporadically, and then they kind of haven't got a full...
I don't know. I don't really know any reasons. It could be all kinds of things. You never know. Like I said, I'm not sweating it too much. You know what I mean? They have their reasons, and
yeah,
I respect that.
And obviously, you come back in. What did you see any differences in the 2021 locker room to the 2006, 2005 for?
Yeah, it's funny. It's the way I see it. Like for the first 20 minutes, it felt weird, and then after that, it was kind of like I'd been there the whole time. It was weird. It's like I said, there's a lot of things are different, but a lot of things are the same too. A lot of new faces, but then a lot of faces that I'd see before. A lot of faces that were there before I even got there. The guys 20 years in, maybe 30 years in. So it was cool to go and catch up with a lot of the backstage people that I hadn't seen in years. So that was definitely fun for me. Yeah. And of course, meeting all the new kids that there.
Yeah, and I was just going to ask that with the new guys that are there. They obviously do show you respect and kind of from your past.
Yeah, exactly. That's another difference. Everybody's very respectful, and it was different. A lot more camaraderie these days than there was before.
And I know you didn't stay that long in the Rumble, and you were just there and then Raw the next night you had the match and stuff like that. How did it feel without the crowd being there?
It's definitely weird. You definitely miss the crowd. I think wrestling, crowd's a big part. I would say that they're if it's a singles match, they're the third man out there. You know what I mean? You depend a lot on the crowd, and they, it's like it sounds corny, but it's true. They really give you energy. You know what I mean? They really hype you up. So without and even WWE puts on a great spectacle. You know what I mean? They do all the fireworks and the monitors, but still without an audience, it's just not the same.
Yeah, and when you're wrestling, when you were wrestling in the Thunderdome, as they call it, did they pump in crowd music, or was it just silence in there?
No, I think it was. I can't remember. I think it was. Yeah, it was a lot. I remember it was a lot of noise, which was good because if it was no audience, just monitors and then no sound, I would have been.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was thinking because we can hear the crowd at home, can you hear that in the ring, or was it just a bit silent?
Yeah. I think it was the same sounds you guys heard. I think they were pumping it into the Thunderdome, as they call it.
And, back in the 2020, when the pandemic was on, WWE made a lot of cuts to talents and stuff like that. What's your thoughts on that? Like, what do you think the reasoning was, or,
I think it was just cost cutting, you know what I mean? Trying to, because they remember that they went where they're just hiring everybody, right? So I guess, the pandemic, I knew it was going to come back to bite them. And, it's not feasible economically, I think, to have so many people on the roster, you know what I mean? Especially, when you can't use a lot of them. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously I don't know whether you've seen recently, the WWE, apparently, obviously this is from Dave Meltzer, it's not gospel, but they're only looking to aesthetically pleasing people, big guys, all this type of thing that WWE are looking to just take in as a raw talent rather than they're not going to these scenes anymore or all this. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I hadn't heard that. I'd heard that they were going for young guys. They wanted under 30 or something was the new thing. I mean, I don't know. They have their reasons. I disagree. I think you just gotta go and find the best talent out there. Those, what I mean? Don't really matter. I don't think it really matters the age, or the experience. They're just guys that you can look at and. You know that they have something, but like I said, they have their reasons, and hopefully it works out for them. We'll see. I don't know.
That's it. And I know CM Punk said on Dynamite this week, he was saying about professional wrestling, and I think it was like a bit of a poorly disguised dig at WWE, saying he's back professional wrestling, and they're more sports entertainment, as we know. Do you think like that's the difference between why they're looking for kind of a set type of person that they can kind of mold in their own light because they're more entertainment than looking for really, really good in-ring workers?
Maybe, but I always think you need both. You need to have the great performers, but you also need the sports entertainers, because a lot of times those sports entertainers that bring in a casual crowd, because the hardcore, the good ring warriors always bring in the hardcore, but then you need the entertainers would bring in the casual, where they, they just flipping the channel. All of a sudden, you see him do something stupid, like Prince of Me or something. Look, who's that guy with that spitting apple and stuff? You know what I mean? What the guy with the crazy hair? You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, you mix that in with the good wrestlers, and then it's more entertaining that way.
Yeah. And when I heard that they were doing this type of thing, well, obviously, as we said, it's not what we know they're doing; it's just what we've heard they're doing. It just made me think back to something that Bruce Pritchard said a long time ago, where he said, like, anybody can be good on an offense. Show me you can sell and get somebody else over, and then I'll tell you you're a good wrestler. And it just made me think, like, if they're going for these big guys or the young guys and stuff like that, they need these really good in-ring workers and to get these new talents over and to make them look credible.
Yeah, exactly. To guide them and let them know, because like I said, under 30 is great. They look great. They can perform great. But at that level, I don't think even second generation, I felt I didn't have everything put together till, I was in my early 30s. So it's very hard to find. There's some guys out there, you know what I mean? They can put it together young. But I think the majority, it takes them time to really develop to be, especially to be on the grand stage like WWE or AEW.
Yeah. And I know there's been a lot of rumors with the talent cuts and the cost cutting backstage and stuff like that WWE may be looking to sell the company. Now, I know, obviously, you're a second generation superstar. You've come from your father's a promoter. If you put your promoter's hat on and you're looking at your business hat on and you're looking at the kind of stuff they're doing, do you see that as a credible option?
I don't see Vince selling the company. That's I don't think he sees I don't think he sees anybody running that company but him. So it'll be interesting, but I don't to ponder that. But I don't think Vince is selling his baby, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, that was more my fault because I work in like a corporate setting, and I know when they're looking to sell a company, they want to make it as profitable as possible. So that's why I was kind of thinking where the mass cuts and it wasn't just talent that got cut, was it? It was cameramen, backstage people,
right? All kinds of
made everything very small. And I was just thinking to myself, are these kinds of making moves here to make it look a lot more profitable so that they can hot potato it off?
Right, but I just don't see Vince selling the company. I don't know. He's just too invested in it, I think.
So we'll look to wrap up now. I've just got some questions from WrestleCult on Discord for you, Carlito. Obviously, just asked us to ask a few questions. So the first one was, who came up with the idea for the apple spitting gimmick?
Well, the apple gimmick, if you noticed that all Carlito's first vignettes were just Razor Ramon ripoff vignettes. I didn't realize until I was at the Razor Ramon's Hall of Fame, because my dad was getting inducted after him, and they were showing his old vignettes. And I'm looking, I was like, wait a minute. Mine are all exactly like, oh, wow, they're all ripoffs of Razor. All right, fine. And then in one of them, he spat, I forgot what he had some kind of fruit. I don't know. That's somebody's. So they switched it around where I spat in a vendor's face. And I think it was Vince's idea because he liked it. And he's looking back at the footage. He goes, oh, I love that. I want you to keep doing that. All right. That works for me.
This is okay. And the second question from them: why did you leave WWE in 2006?
I think it was 2010 that I left.
Right there.
I just needed a break, man. I was just mentally, I was I was checked out mentally since maybe 2008 or something. You know what I mean? So I just needed a break. My plan was always to like take a break and come back. But I didn't think it'd take like 10 years or 11 years to whatever. But like I said, I just needed from just the grind of the business, and plus, working for my dad to OVW, like I never really had a break from wrestling. So I just needed some time for me. I couldn't mentally, I just couldn't take it. I needed to be away.
Yeah. Okay. So I know you said that you've had no contact with WWE or AEW. So what are you up to nowadays? What have you got coming up? Is there any shows or?
Yeah, I'm doing all kinds of shows all over the world still. Just doing my own schedule, man, and doing these little shows, these conventions, and I'm having a blast doing it.
Yeah. Have you got any plans to come to the UK anytime soon, or?
I would love to. I hope they reach out soon, because I've always had a good time there, and I can't wait to get back.
Good stuff. And just one last thing from me. I heard you've done a bit of acting not too long ago. Is that something that you're looking to progress further as you go,
Yeah, like I said, I'm open to all kinds of things. It's something fun. What I like about it is that I'm a rookie again. which is kind of cool. Like, being in the wrestling business for so many years now, I'm at the veteran stage. So it's kind of cool. Like, I feel like I'm starting all over from the bottom. So it makes you kind of hungrier, you know what I mean? So it's I'm always, up for new experiences. It terrifies me too. So I always like to, do things that challenge me and that scare me.
Yeah. And I know, obviously, your dad, the legendary Carlos Colon, he's had the Puerto Rican territory for a long, long time. Obviously, it's something that stood the test of time even longer than, obviously Vince swallowed up a lot of it, didn't he? But, even WWE, they've still carried on going over there. Is that something that you'd look to maybe take over in the future, inherit, and look to set yourself up as a promoter?
No, I can't deal with the boys. That's one thing that I can't. I can't do. Maybe my brother and cousin might go that route, but yeah, I just told him, just bring me in his talent. I'll help out wherever I can. But like I said, dealing with the boys and their egos is something that I just don't want to deal with.
You'd rather just have to turn up and wrestle and go again.
Exactly. Yeah. Just give me in and get me out, and that's it, man.
And I know, as you said before, your dad did get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Do you see yourself going into the Hall of Fame one day?
Not yet. I don't think I have the credentials yet. Hopefully, if I get another run, I could do something. But not yet. But I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? That's Yeah. I didn't realize I remember people asking me that I was only in WWE for 6 years, which is crazy. You always think,
it seemed like you were there. But you were very prominent in them 6 years, because there's other people who have been there for 10, 15 years, and you go, what? They've been there how long? So it just shows you how prominent on TV and how at the top you were at that point.
Yeah, I'm very thankful. All these years later, people still remember me, and people still appreciate it. So that's very cool.
Yeah. And if you got a call off WWE saying about going maybe to the Performance Center or something along them lines, would you be interested in something like that?
Would I be interested in it? I wouldn't be interested, but I would do it. You know what I mean? I did. It depends. I'm like I said, I'm open to. I checked my ego at the door a long time ago. You know what I mean? I'm open to whatever. I don't think I'm better than anybody. But I'm just open to any good ideas that I think would entertain me and that would profit. Both sides.
Brilliant. Okay, well, Carlos, thanks so much for joining us today. Where can people keep up to date with you on social media and whatnot?
My social media, my Twitter is at Lito Colon 279, LITO COLON 279. That's all I have. All I have is Instagram and Twitter. I have like 87 Facebook, but I don't run any of those. I don't know who's in charge of those.
There's always a lot of people, isn't there? Yeah. A lot of Facebooks and that. Yeah. But thanks very much for joining us, Wrestlebuddies. Make sure you leave some comments in the comment section on this, being interested to get your take on some of this stuff. And also make sure you go and give Carlito a follow and keep up to date with all his dates. I'm sure he'll swing by your neighborhood sometime soon. But Carlito, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thanks for talking to me.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
All right.
There you go.